The highly anticipated September 19 Edo governorship election this year is almost here, and candidates and their parties are on top of their games in covering the nooks and crannies of the states with their campaigns. You are welcome to Frontline on NTA Benin. I am Ogochkuka Ona, and on this special edition we feature the candidates of the All Progressives Congress, the APC. Osage Izeyamu. He is a pastor, former chief of staff, and secretary to the state government in Edo State. He was the national vice chairman, South-South Zone of the defunct Action Congress of Nigeria, ACN. He is also a farmer. He equally contested in the last governorship election in the state under the platform of the PDP. And we begin this package on his thoughts on what makes this election different from the others.
Well, I think that the media especially should be very specific in terms of those who are engaging themselves in violent conduct. I'll be very sincere with you that in all this we have conducted ourselves very peacefully. And if you want me to be specific, I'll tell you that even in cases where the police have made arrests or the truth has been told, it's been clear that most of this violent conduct has been from the other political party. We also want to thank His Royal Majesty the Oba of Benin for the meeting that he called. If you had watched that tape, you would also notice that in as much as he told us not to engage in any blame game, but he also pointed out the direction where the violence must stop, or where the talks must be ordered to stop whatever they are doing. So we are committed to peaceful campaign. We believe that the only way winner will emerge is if the election is peaceful. And in all the campaigns we have done, we have stressed the need for peaceful conduct. Unfortunately, the other side, that is the one that is engaged in these violent acts, are also the ones who are also going to the press to give the impression that Edo has become a war zone. My take is that they are trying as much as possible to scare voters from coming on that day. You know, when you scare voters and the turnout is low, that is when manipulations are very easy. But I'll give you an example. We had a report from Apana in Isako West that the PDP rally was disrupted by APC followers. But luckily somebody filmed it. And by the time we watched the tape, it was the reverse. We actually saw PDP dogs going into the communities, shooting and creating all kinds of mayhem. And in fact, even forcing the police to stop recording. And even the deputy governor himself admitted that he had to seize the phone of the area commander, an assistant commissioner of police, a woman. Why would you seize that phone? He did it because he felt that they were recording what they were doing. And it was unfortunate. But it was the same people who came on air to say that their rallies were disrupted when it was not so. Now look at the House of Assembly when the place was vandalized. The governor took people there. Unfortunately, 7 of these young boys were arrested with arms. They were taken to Abuja, and when the investigations were concluded, and they found out that those who sponsored them are high-ranking officers in the Edo State government. They brought them to Benin to charge them. Those people that sponsored them are still at large. Nobody has arrested them. So a lot of times when people are talking about violence from the political parties, they need to be a bit more specific. And the only reason why, our people have been very law-abiding is that we continue to appeal to them, that they must not take the laws into their hands. Even before the Oba made the appeal, we have been stressing this, that look, we understand the intention of these people is to create a war zone so that everybody will be scared to come out. So no matter the provocation, what you can do or what you should do is to report to the appropriate authorities. Go and report to the police. Incident the matter. But on no condition must you say because they slapped you, you must slap them back. We are very confident of our acceptability at the grassroots. So we're not going to do anything that would make our people to be afraid. And we'll continue to appeal to them.
There have been issues with the campaigns, and this has been raising concerns from stakeholders. How can this narrative be changed? What are really the issues with the campaign? Many observers say they are laced with insults and name-calling.
Well, thank you very much. Again, what you have said is true, but it's coming from one side. Everywhere I have gone, you will see me talking about the simple agenda. Even in this place, I brought it here. Everywhere I've gone, printed, published, being circulated all over the state. And the beautiful thing about it is that even little children, old women, youths, everywhere I go, they understand what the simple agenda stands for. So for the first time, we have created a level of political consciousness whereby our people know the manifesto, the agenda of a candidate. In the past, it wasn't so. So I'm very proud to say that everywhere in Edo, in the 192 wards, they can tell you Pastor Izeyamu, or PO as they like to call me, has a simple agenda. On the other hand, when you watch the campaign of Godwin Obaseki, surprisingly, all you see them talking about is either they are abusing Oshomole, or they are playing tips where Oshomole was praising Obaseki. And that to me is strange. For a governor who is seeking re-election, I would have thought that the re-election campaign would be an opportunity for him to showcase his stewardship, to tell the people, look at the things I have done. I had the opportunity to be DG to Adams Oshomole in his second term. And I remember that he kept telling people, this is not earmark. What I want you to vote for is IMAC. What have I done? Look around. I've done roads. I've done schools. I've done water. And people were very impressed with it. And not surprisingly, he won the entire state. He won the 18 local government. But Obaseki, you are abusing Oshomole. You are saying no to Godfatherism. And yet, you are still depending on the tape he used in praising you 4 years ago to tell people that, oh, the man praised you 4 years ago, they should vote for you. But the man is not praising you now. Or rather, you are carrying tapes where the man abused Pastor Izeyamu, forgetting that the man now is supporting Pastor Izeyamu. So I'm surprised that rather than face issues and tell us either what he has done or what he intends to do, all the campaign is still on the past. Very negative campaign, name calling. But I have restrained myself from that. All I've been doing is talking about the simple agenda. And the only time I've had to speak about it is to estrange his administration. Has he done well? And the answer everywhere is no. So I am not involved in name calling. I'm not involved in negative campaign. Everywhere I've gone, I've spoken about my simple agenda. The governor says he has an agenda called Mega. Of course, when he was flagging off his campaign, he never mentioned it. He started talking about it when people say, look, Pastor is talking about simple agenda. Where is your own? Now the Mega agenda, nobody has seen it. Mine is here. But rather, 90% of your campaign is on Oshomole. Oshomole don't need ballot. He helped me to be governor many years ago, but he has gone. He has finished his term. You are contesting with Pastor Izeyamu. And whether you are going to win or lose, you must tell the people, what have you done in the past 4 years? But rather than do that, so that we can look at it and say, oh, this man has done well. He deserves a re-election. All your this is about the past. You are still playing Oshomole's tapes. Oshomole praising you, and yet Oshomole is a godfather. And yet you want us to listen to him when he was praising you, or when he was abusing Pastor Izeyamu in an attempt to support you.
And what are your expectations from voters?
Despite the COVID situation, we expect that there will be a fairly large turnout. And my message, my simple agenda has resonated very well with our people. So I'm very optimistic of doing well. But let me clarify some issues. I think that it's an insult to say that the election is between Obaseki and Oshomole. That is the narrative that Godwin Obaseki has tried to play, because everywhere he goes to, he talks about Oshomole. He plays Oshomole's tapes, he talks about Oshomole. But those who know me will know that I'm not new to this game. My people know me, I've lived with them, and I've attained a very solid record. Even when I contested last time, I'm sure you all saw the scorecard. So it's wrong to create the impression that because Adams Oshomole is campaigning for somebody from his party, this election is all about him. That would be very wrong. So for anybody to say that it's Oshomole that is contesting is an insult on Pastor Izeyamu. It's absurd to say that you have to be a governor to talk about leadership by example. Leadership by example is talking about transparency, accountability, the rule of law, appreciating the fact that there's separation of powers, not interfering in the functions of the judiciary or of the House of Assembly, respect for traditional institutions, access to our people through town hall meetings. That is the essence and is fundamental to leadership. So to suggest that you have to be a governor first before you can articulate these things, it's ridiculous. And then be that as it may, when you talk about moving from party to party, I think sometimes we try to be too hard. When I contested 4 years ago, my agenda was clear, the simple agenda. I'm contesting again, and the agenda is the same, the simple agenda. Even in civil societies, you can change your NGO. That does not mean that you have become unstable. In reality, in life, you have vehicles. And if you find out that the vehicle you are using to propagate what you believe in is not as effective as you thought, you change. In life, people have career changes. A man can start out in life as a doctor and end up being a businessman. It doesn't make him unstable. It's just that he has realized that this profession will not be the best. So what is important is that what do you stand for? What do you want to achieve? I would have thought that, people will applaud that for the first time, you can identify a candidate with his idea, with his agenda. Rather, you are obsessed with the fact that, the man moved from one place before. In any event, the APC you are talking about, I was a founder of the APC. So my coming back is homecoming. The reason that made me leave is known. A disagreement. And even in families, you can disagree and leave and stray back. For me, my politics is people-centered. I was the first in Edo State to start a group called the Grace Group in 2005 with the slogan, "No man is God." And the fact that Shomole, when he came in, he said no to Godfatherism. So those who want to put the label of Godfather on him today are only being mischievous. Godfather to who? The man did 8 years, he has left. But to think that participating or campaigning for somebody translates to Godfatherism, then maybe we're talking about two different meanings of Godfather. I don't think he's trying to be a Godfather. He has a right, especially when he believes that he made a mistake before. He supported somebody before who was relatively unknown. He supported him. And all of a sudden he finds out that everything that the man was supposed to have done in terms of good roads, in terms of education, they've not done. All the money that they've collected for primary health education, they have spent it on what they call the best. No new school, nothing, no teachers. It will surprise you that over 38% of the teacher workforce in Edo State have either retired or they have died. They are not there. So in most of the schools you are going to find just one teacher. One principal, one teacher. One headmaster, one teacher. What kind of school or education are we giving to our children when there are no teachers in schools? The vacancy has been there for over 4 or 5 years ago, and it's still there. So what are you talking about? So I think that we need to focus on the agenda. This document is self-explicit. The simple agenda that I have is very clear. For me, Edo cannot move forward in the absence of security. And security is not cheap. And I have said that government must fund it. Not necessarily even put in a new budget. The money we spend on security vote is more than enough to improve the security architecture of our state. Unfortunately, it has become like a pocket money to a governor. It's not being used. When you see the amount being given to the police, for example, or the lack of equipment that they have, or even vehicles, that will tell you that we don't consider security as anything. In the same way with infrastructure. How much are we spending on infrastructure? There's no water in Edo State at all. Everybody relies on borehole. And the problem with borehole. It's not tested, it's not treated.
What should the people expect from your manifesto of hope, which you present in your simple agenda?
Let me first start with security. The insecurity in our state is getting worse by the day, and we must tackle it if we intend to bring development and investors to our state. For me, security is not cheap, so we need to invest in it. 4 years ago, the security fund, the security vote was around 4.5 billion every year. The present governor came and increased it to around 7.5 billion, which translates to around 600 million every month. unfortunately, the same pittance that was being given to the Edo State Police Command 4 years ago, which is 5 million a month, is the same thing that is being done now. You cannot give the Edo State Police Command 5 million naira and expect any serious result in terms of handling security challenges. So we intend to improve on the funding to our security agencies. Yes, they are federal agencies, but they are operating in our states, and we need our state to be secured. So we are going to invest money in security. And and by the time we do that, people will know that Edo State is safe, investors will come, businessmen will come, and things will change. Number two, infrastructure. When we're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about good roads. There are so many areas that are not motorable. Our state, we are very strong in agriculture, but even to bring the food to the cities is a major problem. So we intend to identify routes, strategic economic routes, that link communities, that will carry food from the rural areas to the urban areas. And we are going to immediately work on them. We are also going to collaborate with the local governments. As at now, the local governments are practically running on their own. When I say running on their own, there's no supervision. I've not seen them doing any particular project. But in as much as we are going to encourage autonomy for local governments, we are also going to ensure that they do the needful, so that we can collaborate with them and do as many roads as possible. But road, water, electrification, hospitals. Our hospitals are in a dilapidated situation. We have 34 hospitals in Edo State, and none of them is anything to write home about. The only one that Comrade built, or Shomole built, which he called the 5-star hospital, and which Baseke has now called the Edo Specialist Hospital, has been given to a private concern. And the fees he's charging has made it impossible for Edo people to enter into the place. So even though it was built with Edo payers' money, but Edo people cannot access it because the money is too much. So that again we need to look at. But the basic is that because of time, we are going to invest in infrastructure. Water, light, hospitals, roads, we are going to invest in them. Another area is manpower development. And here we're talking about education, training, skill acquisition. Again, it requires setting our priorities right. What is happening today is that our tertiary institutions are being closed. Abu Sali was getting 270 million before this administration came in. They have reduced it to 96 million. The university can no longer pay salaries, as of now they are owing workers. If you continue like that, you will collapse the place. We must increase the funding. Not even keep the funding, we must increase it. Because education is one of the largest industries in our state, and the prayer of every family in Edo is to give their children education, because that is the only way the children of the poor can become rich. So we are going to spend a lot on education, and education cannot work in the absence of teachers. We don't have teachers. So no matter the increase in personnel cost, which some people might be running away from, we are going to employ teachers because we need them. It's not something we can say we'll do without. We need teachers. So we're going to employ teachers. We're going to also invest in skill acquisition centers. Teachers are people, technical skills that will make them viable anywhere they go. Another word is public-private partnership. And that is where we intend to really reach out and interface with the private sector. We can't do it alone. It will interest you to note that in the past 4 years, there's no interface between our local businesses and government. All we are seeing is traveling to China to sign MOUs. But charity begins at home. Before you even begin to go outside, what have you done to engage local businesses? How have you supported them? How have you patronized them? So through public-private partnership, we intend to work hand in hand with those who are interested in coming to our states. We will go and sell our state positively to companies in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. And we believe that will help the economy of our state. Government must be transparent. Government must be accountable. Government must respect the rule of law. Government must understand that there is separation of power. Government must make itself accessible to the governed. These are key issues we intend to bring to governance. And that will change a lot of things. And then the E, is employment and empowerment. Everything we are talking about is geared towards creating employment for our people. For example, through security alone, we intend, even the vigilante we are talking about, we would engage close to 10,000 of them and bring them under the payroll of government. The infrastructure we are going to do, most of those jobs will be done by Edo people. This is an Edo state government. We were elected by Edo state people. So the jobs we do, first and foremost, we will look for Edo companies. And this will create jobs for our people. Because what is happening right now is capital flight. The little money that we have, they are being given to people outside our state. And they bring in people from outside to come and do jobs. And at the end of the day, nobody gains from it. So even in terms of the massive money we're going to put into infrastructure, we intend to create a lot of jobs. And by the time we start manpower training and development, our people will be taught skills. Take, for example, School of Nursing in Edo. It's been closed. That was one institution that was extremely sought after because people come from all over the world looking for nurses. But for a reason I cannot understand, for the past 3-4 years, the Edo State School of Nursing has been closed. And you can imagine the effect, negative effect and impact it's going to make on our healthcare system in years to come. Because for the past 3-4 years, we're no longer training nurses in Edo State. So that area too, by the time we do manpower training, education, skill acquisition, our people will be better skilled. And then empowerment. Our women are extremely industrious. If you give an Edo woman 10,000, go back tomorrow, it's 20,000. So such women will need to work with organizations, finance houses, to see how we can really empower them with resources. And then the question people will ask is that in this period of COVID, with all its consequences, how do we intend to raise money? That's a major challenge. But the first thing is we need to be focused. We need to know our priorities. And we need to be prudent. The wastages in government is unbelievable. In as much as we can access the capital market, we're also going to do with a lot of caution. If we are borrowing money, we have to ask ourselves for what? If we are borrowing for projects that has the tendency to bring economic returns, then fine. But if they cannot, then we need to know our priorities. I believe government must seriously focus on welfare. But at the same time, we cannot continue the borrowing spree. I'm not going to leave office and my successor cannot function because of the debt I've built there for him. So we need to be accountable. We need to be prudent. But I believe that with what we are trying to do, security, for example, is going to bring businesses into our states. Infrastructure is going to make our state more attractive for investments. The manpower training we are talking about will make our people skilled and better in what they are doing. Public-private partnership will bring businesses. For example, Ewu Flour Mill, they told me, this was a mill before that was very viable. Today, it's no longer functioning. We need to discuss with the owners to see what we can do to bring it back. So as many businesses as we have in Edo, we are going to do everything to see how we can revive them and open new ones. It will interest you to know that when I was in government, we built a Casavita factory at Uromi. Brand new Casavita factory. I don't think the present governor has stepped there one day. I don't think he has gone there. Brand new factory, generator, everything is there. But it's never been opened. It's just there. And that is the kind of thing we want to stop. I was embarrassed when the governor went to Stella Obasanjo Hospital during COVID and announced that he never knew that this kind of hospital existed. A man who was chief economic advisor to Shomole for 8 years, and the hospital was not confessing that the hospital that was down the road, Stella Obasanjo Hospital, built also by those state government, he never knew it existed. So we need to take a census of what we have, revive them. If we do that, we are going to find out that the economic situation in our state will change. Agriculture. I'm embarrassed when I hear Kebbi, Ebonyi. They are now the rice hub of our country. Remember in those days, you talk about Ekpoma rice. Ekpoma, Ilushi, all these are, areas where you can grow rice in abundance. But the key is support. In these other states, Government will collect money from central bank and from financial institutions, and they will give it to farmers. In our own case, money is collected, but no farmer gets it. They said they spent 2 billion doing a model farm in Sobe. Go there, there's nothing happening there. But agriculture is one area that we can raise the revenue profile of our states. After all, in those days when you had 4 regions and we didn't have oil, we survived. So why can we not survive if we're able to diversify?
An interview there with the candidate of the APC, Pastor Sagi Izeyamo. Thank you for watching Frontline, and we do hope you have a safe and violent-free election. Stay blessed.
Why you dey cough and you no cover your mouth? You know hear say coronavirus dey town? Oh yes, so my people, one disease dey town wey dey kpokpo the whole world, and the name na COVID-19, and the other name na coronavirus. COVID-19 or coronavirus na disease wey you fit catch if person wey get the disease cough, sneeze, shake your hand, or if you stay near where person